tomorrow on Friday we'll be here. Welcome, George.
Nothing like a big entry, is there?
That is a mega entry. Excuse me, it's about your clutch?
Yeah.
I mean, how many clutches do you go through?
Well, it's either on or it's off. There's no in between.
Isn't this supposed to be somewhere?
You need a lesson in how to drive this. I can teach you to drive this
car. You can do this. It must be like one of those remote control things.
There you go.
Where's the joystick?
Outside the wall. It's a lot safer.
Put it down, for God's sake.
I mean, this is unbelievable. It is so loud.
You could be incredibly quick in this car. I can teach you to drive.
No.
But how do you... Look, did you know there's no doors, folks? Look, check it. There's no door. You've got to climb in here. I mean, why aren't there any doors?
That's the hardest part of it. Driving, it's easy. Getting in and out, that's the hard bit.
That does look very tricky, and you've got to take the steering wheel out to get out of the car. So, and boy, there's a lot of... This is your NASCAR.
Yes, this is the actual car. In fact, just as it came off the last race on the Thunderdome.
Whoa! I mean, how powerful, how fast is this thing?
700 horsepower, 200 miles an hour.
That's big. Okay, well, we'll go and sit down. I can't take... Can I take the steering? I'm just fascinated that you actually...
No. Go over there and chat.
Can I back...
We want to play. We want to play.
I just love the way you're revving the clutch trying to do a three-point turn to get in here. Wouldn't you have fun trying to get it in? I'd wipe out the bandstand, I'm sure. Okay, let's go.
It was actually a worry, believe me.
Can I actually back it out?
Yeah, no problem, yeah.
No, George, honestly, my credentials, I did 4 laps at the Grand Prix and the celebrity race.
I've seen you drive. People have seen me drive too. They thought they don't want me back in the car.
Oh, okay. Well, okay, let's... Now, I was just telling everyone a little smidgen of your rags to riches. Now, you've done the big entrance. I said you've flown helicopters, driven NASCARs. Now, just recently you got back into NASCARs. How did a boy from La Perouse, who had a very humble background, get into this high-flying life?
Well, I started off many years ago in just speedway racing. And spent a lot of years racing all over the country on dirt circuits, probably 10 years or so. And you know, being a professional race car driver is a lot of fun, but you can get pretty hungry. And there came a time where I just needed to give it a rest for a while. I needed to get something happening, get a business happening for my family. And we bought a hotel out at Leppington, the Leppington Inn. And we worked at that for a little while, but I was a little bit like a fish out of water, I guess. I just felt really uncomfortable not doing what I really wanted to do. And when I saw that the Thunderdome had been built in Melbourne, a big high bank super fast speedway, I thought that's where I need to be. So
you had to get into it again.
I went to America, bought a car, and I was fortunate enough to pick up a major sponsor in the first year. And the very first year I ran 3rd in the Australian titles, won the Rookie of the Year and bunch of other things, and secured some more sponsorship, and I was able to go on from there. That was great.
So great success a couple of times in NASCAR.
Yes.
Got out to make a proper living for a minute.
Yeah.
But what about, where did you come from? I mentioned La Perouse.
Yeah.
What was life like for George Elliot the kid at school?
Well, I mean, La Perouse in those days was a fairly tough area, you know. I mean, it was an Aboriginal reserve right next to the school that I went to. And, you know, I got to wonder about all this business about the Aboriginals.
Oh, don't go there.
I know you don't want to get into that.
No, I don't either.
But there's a lot of good and bad everywhere. I mean, I can't understand it, you know.
Did you have a few blues at school?
I had plenty. The teachers organised it. I mean, the teachers... The teachers used to form a ring at Little Lunch, which was milk time in those days.
Little Lunch, I remember Little Lunch. There's a flashback.
And lunchtime, and they would...
I hated the warm milk. They used to leave it sitting outside.
Yeah, but the trick was to get the ice over the top, and if you picked the right ones, you were okay, you know. But yeah, the teachers used to form a ring and they'd pick 2 kids to have a fight, and that was always better to see a white kid fight a black guy, so I got a lot of practice at that, you know. I went through school pretty much thinking you went to school to learn to fight and play football, and then when it came time to move on to high school, the high school that I was allocated to wasn't built. So I had to go and hang out in a classroom at some other school waiting for them to build the school that I was supposed to go to. So it was really second year of high school before I realised that, hey, there's lessons on the board, and I really didn't have much idea on what to do with them, so I just got out of school as soon as I could.
Okay, we got into racing, you had a couple of successes, you bought a pub, you ran that. Now, and then out of the blue, you decided to write a book. Now, here's somebody who you've just described your schooling and your education wasn't exactly private and first class. You've had one successful novel, Terminal Greed's the one we'll just get onto now. But when did the writing bug get to poor boy from La Perouse?
I don't know that I actually got a writing bug. It wasn't something that I'd always wanted to do, you know. I was actually driving home in the transporter from Adelaide, a race about 2 years ago. It was the last race of the season, sponsorship deal had ended. And, you know, when you've been around racing as long as I have, you're always knocking on the same old doors, asking the same old people if they want to sponsor you. I thought if I did something a little different that might broaden my profile, it would get me to a new base, new range of people.
So how did the book idea come up?
Well, I knew the story that I wanted to write, but I actually didn't set out to write a book. I thought I'd write a movie, you know, you might as well go for the big hit right from the word go.
Geez, not ambitious or anything, is he? You just thought you'd write a movie.
Go to the top, that's the only way to do it.
So how did you get published?
Well, when I decided what story I was going to write, I just simply wrote the person's name, what they said and what they did. That gave me a format to follow, okay? I wrote it in longhand and in capital letters because it's the only way I knew how to write. And I got my wife Dawn to type it all up for me so that it was at least able to be read. I got somebody to read it for me. They loved it. They showed it around to a few other people, and it got to a smaller type publisher who said she loved it and thought it should go to an international publisher. So I went along to or a friend of mine went along to the book show at Darling Harbour. It just happened to be on. Looked for the biggest stand at the book show and walked up and said, who's the boss? And they said, well, Lisa Hyden's here and she's the publishing director. You should try and talk to her. So I simply walked up and said, look, read this, and if you like it, give me a call. There's the number. And about a week later, I had a meeting and a contract to write 2 books.
Can you believe that, folks?
It's a pretty amazing story.
Isn't that a great story? When people say it can't be done. Now, before we go, Terminal Greed, this is a new one. Have a listen to this. Now, the villain here ran a company called Vortex. He owes over $240 million. He shipped out antiques and money out of Australia. He lives on the Mediterranean. Can't be extradited for health reasons. Are we ringing any bells here?
It's not Christopher Skase, by the way.
But you're worried that somebody might come back from overseas and sue you?
I'm hoping he comes back and sues me. Then I get the reward. There's got to be a way of getting him back, you know?
Well, listen, I just think it's such a great story. As a kid who's done what you've done, literally through pure guts and determination, everybody's sitting out there saying, life's tough, I can't get a break. What does George Elliot say?
Life's always tough. I mean, it's been tough for me. I've been at both ends of the spectrums. I've been at the high end and the low end. But the trick is being able to get back up and keep going, you know. And I think somebody once said, I don't know who it was, I wish it had been me, but somebody said that failure will never hurt you, but the fear of failure will kill you. And that's pretty right. You just got to don't be frightened to have a go.
Take my breath away. Ladies and gentlemen, what a star. George Elliot, Terminal Greed, that's the book.